All right, we're live. We're back. How's it going, Sebastian?
Hi, Sunny. Thanks for welcoming me to the show.
Awesome. So my name is Sunny. This is the Sunny Ray Show. Thanks to our sponsor, Raz Rocket. Your fundraising on autopilot. Today, I'm joined by Sebastian. Sebastian is the founder of a very interesting company. I was reading about it all morning called OneTake AI. OneTake is an artificial intelligent agent which turns raw videos into a professional presentation in just a single click. So OneTake raised about $1 million in a seed round and now serves thousands of customers in over 115 languages. Sebastian, I'm excited to kick this off. So maybe share with people maybe one or two lines on the company, and then we'll get back to it in about 15 minutes or so. But really interested in hearing about your backstory.
Okay, so one or two lines, very simply, we solve a problem that is huge for everybody that has an expert-based business. So if you're a consultant, a coach, an author, what happens is you have the expertise and you want to communicate it, but there's a gap between knowing what you want to talk about and having that turn into a professional video that you can post on YouTube, social media, or your own website. And after we surveyed hundreds of such entrepreneurs in my previous company, we found that the technical gap of turning the content into a professional video was the main reason most entrepreneurs were stuck and not publishing as much as they wanted. So we created a solution that does that for you. Basically, the idea of OneTake is we have an AI agent that acts like the video guy. So you just upload the raw footage with all the ums, the ahs, the hesitations, long silences, multiple retakes, the dog of the neighbor is barking behind you. And still, OneTake takes that, removes the background noise, removes all the hesitations and the stutters, and gives you something that is professional with transitions, titles, composes a music track for it, translates you into 20 languages with your own voice, and makes it so that the final product makes you look like a polished presenter, even though the original was just you speaking as you would normally.
Sebastian, I kid you not, last week, this is almost my 200th interview or something like that. Yeah, I've done. But
Well,
one of my goals is to start being able to just live stream on my own, where I just turn on the camera and start speaking or recording and then releasing after. And I did one of my first kind of versions of that sitting in my car the other day. And right after I finished, I was thinking, I wish I had a platform where I could upload my video, have all the ums and the ahs and the things deleted, have essentially an edited, maybe a little intro, a little outro, a little bit of music in the back, like all the things that I would have to do now for hours. I was
mhm.
thinking, I wish I had something like that. I kid you not. And I promise you, I hadn't read our pre interview show notes by then. So fascinating. I did try and vibe code it, failed miserably. So I know it's
Yeah,
not,
it's
an
more
easy.
complex than you'd imagine at first.
But
Yes, yes.
as somebody who does create a bit of content, I have tinkered with Descript. I'm playing with StreamYard and all these
Mhm.
things. So I'm quite curious to kind of double click on how you guys stand out from that and how you're a bit different. But before we do that, so you grew up, if I'm not mistaken, in the French Caribbean. You studied at one of the
That's right.
top engineering schools. When did engineering click for you?
Way back when I was in quatrième, which means I was 11. And there was an assessment you did back then in junior high, which was figuring out what kind of career you should do. And so I did that, and it said you need to be a informaticien, so a computer scientist, or a cognitician, which is a job of the future that we had back in the 90s that actually never materialized into being a real job. But basically, it would be like today we would probably say a data scientist. And so from there on, I said, okay, I guess that's what I'm gonna do. And I really loved computers. My dad was one of the first engineers. He studied back when you used the perforated cards to program computers. Really gave all three of his kids the passion for the potential of what you can unlock with computers. And in my case, it was the internet. In the case of my sister, it was understanding you could design homes, and she became a very successful interior designer doing this. And the youngest, for her, it was understanding marketing, and now she's a worldwide director in one of the big hotel chains, biggest in the world. And so that from just the seed of my dad planting the idea that basically this is something that you can use to make your creativity go to the next level. And so in 1999, I was just first year of high school. We built a website for our high school that got us invited by the French president on Bastille Day. So I got to meet French President Jacques Chirac with my buddies from high school. And then I was like, well, the internet is cool. That's, yeah. So from there, went through the French equivalent of the Ivy League, which is a competitive kind of training called the Grandes Écoles, and graduated as an engineer. And then once I got the degree, did completely, totally nothing related to computers at all. I started the Salsa dance school, and then I started a dating coaching company. So why did I do that? It's because when I got my degree, I actually was hired. I had offers from Microsoft, which I didn't want. I was hired at a different company, which was the one that I wanted as an engineer, at the salary I wanted. Like everything was exactly what I had dreamed for the 9 years prior to that. And within 4 weeks, I was absolutely miserable in that job. And I said, okay, there is no way I'm going to spend my life waking up before the sun is up to go work under artificial lights to work for this giant anonymous company, being one of thousands of engineers there. And so after just a few months there, if you get everything you want and it's painful to live through, there's nothing more awful than that. So it was like, I can't stay. And I couldn't find another company that I would want to work for. So the only solution I had was I need to create my own. And so I created several companies. One was a salsa dance school. I started with one student, and then within a few months, I had 150 students. I was the only teacher. I started a dating advice coaching company, the first one in the French speaking world, and got very famous in France for that. I wrote best-selling book, got on TV a lot, coached thousands and thousands of people to meet the love of their life. And because of that, other people ask me, well, if you can coach people for their dating success, maybe you can coach me to run my business, since this is a counterintuitive business to run. And so I started the Free Entrepreneurs Movement. We taught entrepreneurs how to launch and grow their business. We did that for more than a decade, coached 300,000 people in 41 countries. And then when we did the survey during COVID and found out video was the main problem our customers were facing, that's when I had the idea for OneTake.
What an intro. Damn, I am impressed, man. I'm speechless, which is usually pretty rare. So you said okay, I gotta ask you one question. So
Okay.
married, 3 children, happily married, right? So no questions on the dating front, but I do have an outrageous number of good-looking, single, wealthy friends that are not able to crack the dating scene at all.
Mhm.
And besides the traditional go read, I don't know, The Game or whatever, right? Or a
Mhm.
couple of books that I've come across. What do you have, like, one thing that a pattern that you've noticed that helps people figure this out? Because, I mean, although I wanna talk about all the other stuff we're talking about, but I can't help but feel that an alarming number of my buddies are stuck.
Yeah, so that's a whole multi-day seminar right there. But I had the Prince method, which is a trademark in French equivalent of the trademark office. And each letter is one step. And I would say most men who are like great guys have lots of female friends who say, "Wow, I can't believe that you're single," and the guy's like, "Well, so why don't you go out with me?" And then they're like, Actually, like you're a great guy, but just not for me." There's so many men like that, and I found that the first three items is what they tend to miss, and I think these lessons would apply as well if you run a company or a startup. The first one would be what I call preparation, which is just having the kind of life that can accommodate the people you want to meet and the relationship you want to create. So most guys do not create that in their personal lives. They have very sheltered, closed off lives, which is just my circle of friends. And maybe we go out, but it's to watch football in a bar where there is nobody that I want to meet that would be there. So you have to basically create the opportunities. The second step was R, which stands for remarkable. And that's really, my method was perfect for introverts. So I will be the most surprising person to reveal that I am an introvert because I've run seminars, I've done so many online videos and so many public events that I've run. the key to being a successful introvert in dating and in business is to create the opportunity for other people to come talk to you. So to make it so that you don't take on the responsibility that these conversations have to happen started by you. And for example, when we raised our seed round for OneTake, I knew that it's not in my personality to go and email 1,000 VCs or business angels and say, hey guys, you don't know about me, and try to convince, but instead creating something that is interesting enough that you can, as was the case for us, you can just say, hey, we are open to raising funds right now. And if you're interested, then just fill out this form. Here's my calendar self booking link. So we had investors reach out to me. And it's the same as in dating. It's like if people have already made the effort to create that conversation, you're in a better position to be less stressed and just make that a more enjoyable start of the conversation, start of the relationship. So, yeah, these would be, I think, two
Awesome.
things that most guys are missing, which apply both in business and in personal life.
Fascinating. Dude, you seem like a really interesting guy, and I feel like I could talk to you for hours, but let's keep moving, yeah? So, is it true you've written 11 books?
That is correct. And I'm going to blame my good friend Bill O'Hanlon for that. Bill is a psychotherapist. Well, he's a therapist. He wouldn't like the term psychotherapist. He was one of the earliest students of Milton Erickson and of NLP. And he started writing one book a year in the 80s. So now he's beyond his 40th book. His books have been on Oprah, sold hundreds of thousands of copies. And one day he told me, well, your first really good book is going to be the 10th one or 11th one. And at that time, I was on my fourth book and I felt like, oh, this is actually pretty good. But then I was like, okay, this is the target. And when I say writing the books, like all of these books are pre ChatGPT. So they are written one letter at a time on a keyboard. And really, yeah, the 11th book actually was my masterpiece. It's not published in English. It's called Profession Entrepreneur Libre through a French publisher. And yeah, this search for being able to share things that I felt would be most helpful for people. I never wrote the books because I wanted to put out a book. It's more like the book wanted to come out and would not let me do anything else until it was out of my fingers. And sometimes I hated like, that I had to do that. I was like, I would rather be doing something else. But it's like you're possessed by the content and it has to come. I found
Finish it.
that
Sorry.
writing has been rewarding but much harder. Creating video is easier. Just getting my ideas spoken was easier. The process of editing those videos was nightmarish. I was very lucky that one of my good friends, David J, he's a speech therapist and he's a French inventor who created this editing method that was scientifically proven to communicate the message better in terms of retention of the information, how much people are affected emotionally by watching it, and how well they remember and take action on it. And so I used his method for 10 years to edit our online courses and things like that. And I hired video guys to do that for me as well. But then one day I just came to him during COVID and said, well, look, I can't do any more of these 12 hours spent to edit 1 hour of video. I want to create software for myself that maybe others will want that will solve this. So can we partner, figure out a deal to make it happen? And so that's how the technical side of OneTake came out.
Okay, so talk about, I guess, did you have an aha moment with AI? Like, was it ChatGPT, maybe like most of us? Had you been studying this tech, before then? Or was it more recently? When did you realize that you could use AI to solve this problem that you were seeing in the field?
That was way before ChatGPT, which is a good thing and also was difficult at the time. Started working on the project in 2021, early 2021, so a year and a half before ChatGPT, and starting selling it about a year before ChatGPT came out. And so at the time, when you are in January 22 and you talk about AI, people would literally ask me, like, you mean the Terminator? Is that what you're building? It's like people were not very convinced that AI
Yeah.
was something that would bring value. It took months before in November 22, ChatGPT came out, and then people got it, and it made it easier for us to present what we do. But for me, what was the aha moment was we had an initial minimum viable product of what OneTake was going to be. And at the time, it cut the editing process of doing a full neuro video from, if you have a complex video, 12 hours of work spent editing 1 hour of video. 12 hours of work, we cut that down to 45 minutes. And I was so thrilled. I did a demo to many of my entrepreneur friends. I was so proud of myself that the job was so much faster. And Victor Damasio, Brazilian entrepreneur client of mine, whose company is in the Financial Times 1000, fastest growing in the Americas, he sent me a private message and said, dude, well, actually, he called, dude, we need to talk. He called me and he said, going from 12 hours of work to 45 minutes is great. But dude, I don't want to work for 45 minutes ever. Like, what I want is I just send my terrible raw video and I click one button and I'm done. Like, I can just get the final result. And at the time, I told him, you realize that what you say is just impossible. Like, technology for this does not exist. This is not possible. He said, yeah, I know, but that's what I want. And I was pissed, but it made me think. I realized, well, it doesn't exist and it is impossible. So if we manage to do it, then we have an edge, like we have an advantage that nobody else is able to compete on. And you were mentioning earlier that there are some other tools that people use to help them create a video that looks a bit better. So, for example, we're doing this on StreamYard, which is great for live streaming of content, gives you something that looks good with the titles, but doesn't like actually do the editing like a human editor would do it for you. If you use Descript, you will have the transcript and you can make changes there. And they made editing different by doing it text based instead of timeline based. But you are still working. Yes, you're still in there typing away and editing things. And the problem we solve for is people who do not want to be clicking around and typing things in the transcript. So that's the experience that we create at OneTake. It's like upload, the video is done. And if you have any comments, then instead of going back to the timeline to make edits, you can do it just like you would with your video guy or video editor. You would just send a message saying, hey, I love it, but the titles are maybe a bit too flashy. Find a color that blends more. And maybe the music should be louder. Like if you sent that to the video guy on WhatsApp, he would get it and make the video better. And that's what OneTake does. You don't need to go in there and touch buttons and fight your way through.
That is crazy. And like I said, just last week I was on this exact idea. In fact, just so you don't think I'm blowing smoke, check this out. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, yeah. This is the vibe coded thing you were mentioning.
Transform your videos. Yeah, it doesn't work, like, it's shitty, but I'm just saying, so I agree with the impossible part, but I'm sure the millions of people are thinking the exact same thing. How much does it cost, or have you figured that out yet? Like, meaning, so, like, I put it in there, I get my video an hour later. How much
Well,
is it?
we have a free. People can try it for free on the website on www.onetake.ai. We have free trials, different plans that start
Lovely.
very cheap. Yeah.
Okay, I think you might got your first customer. This is amazing, man. So talk a little bit more about the journey in terms of, so you had this idea, you have this
Mhm.
guy who's now your, I guess, your co-founder or helping you build this product. You're on the path. So where are you now? You said you've raised $1 million. What's the next big kind of, I don't know, milestone or challenge?
Yeah, we have grown quite a lot since then. We have a few thousand paid users. We did raise successful seed round. And what we are saying is that this is a fascinating space. I've been in different industries before, including selling information at the height of when that was the hot thing, right? Selling online courses. I
Mhm.
started doing that in 2009, right? What I'm seeing is that AI is the thing that has the largest impact in the next few years as to how people work and also how we communicate. And we have chosen to take contrarian stance here. Most of the startups, pretty much all of them, that you can find if you look for AI plus video, they are about the idea of replacing you with AI. So you can create an AI clone of yourself, which is either a 3D clone or an avatar, and then don't worry, it's going to speak instead of you. And the future of that is a race to the bottom where you shouldn't be looking to replace Sunny with AI Sunny that's going to speak instead of you, etc. Because the interest for people to be consuming that is very low. There's a little bit of the novelty effect. Oh, wow. Well, I guess it's impressive. But then they're not going to stick around versus if it's real Sunny speaking, but we make him look professional by editing the video well, but there's still the human there. So we chose to not be replacing our users, but giving them the superpowers, enhancing the value of the content, translating it so that they can reach more people. Because we see that what makes businesses successful, if they rely on video, if they're a podcaster, if they're a coach that pushes content online, is the relationship that people are able to build. They come for the content, but they stay for that relationship, and they do not make that relationship with the virtual avatar. And so we see a huge growth still ahead of us. We have thousands of people right now. We can easily accommodate tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and soon millions of people using it, because our bet of the future is that humans will be humans, right? We have some needs, including speaker, the public speaker, the coach, the presenter. This person, they want to contribute and they want it to come from themselves. So these people will always want to be the person that is recorded and have that look professional. So we are betting that this market is going to exist. And we also bet that the market for viewing the content, watching the content, getting the relationship, yeah, that's the home base. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really blown away. This is awesome. Hey, so does it actually, so it creates shorts obviously too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it edits the
And
video first and then creates the short.
edits it, so is it music? Does it put music in there?
You
Like,
did
does it
really
put,
good.
I don't know if there's, you know, how a lot of shorts have music in the background.
It composes music, yes, and also composes the music based on what's in the video, so that you don't. That, what we found is that you don't want the same kind of music if your video is about, "Hey, I'm taking all of you on a trip with me to Cuba." It's just one kind of music, but you
Mm.
don't want the same music if the video is, "Here is how to plan your estate for after you pass away." You don't
Yeah,
want
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Latin salsa dancing music.
Interesting, but you
So
have that music component, and
mhm,
it's far more turnkey than Descript, is that what I gathered? Like, as in they do
yeah.
have that remove your stutters and stuff like that, but it's kinda like feature you have to go and hunt for. Is yours more like just
Exactly. So
automated? You
what
just
we
take
saw
all that,
very
package it up, boom.
mhm.
That's
What we
brilliant.
saw very early is that other software tools, and so the person I was mentioning earlier is not my co-founder. We just had a deal in the beginning so that we could work and make it possible for him to for his methodology of editing to be integrated in the tool. My co-founder actually used to work at one of the very large video editing companies. I'm not going to mention their name, but they are 100 million video editor company. And what he saw there is that they were stuck in their paradigm of they're selling video editing software, right? So if they are adding AI, basically they're just adding more buttons that do things that are AI features. And so as a result, they kept making the software more complex by adding more AI into it. So the users are seeing just more stuff to do now, because now you need to click the stutters button and then improve the audio button and then this and that and the other thing. And instead, what we do is we stripped all of that away and we're like, well, what if people could just not have to click anything? That's the experience that we built. You upload your file and then the work is done. Voila.
Man, this feels like a billion-dollar idea. Sebastian, thank you so much for your time, man. We should definitely do a part 2 if you're up for it, but, that was a lot of fun. I learned a ton, and yeah, you're just a great storyteller, and seems like you're living a quite an interesting life. My wife's from Colombia. Maybe I should start taking up some salsa dancing or something.
Hey, you should
Yeah.
100%. Since you have a Colombian at home,
I gotta
100%.
work on my game, man. Maybe someone's gotta write a book for people who are 15 years in. But Sebastian, thank you. Where do people find out about you and stuff like that? You send the website, but is there,
Yeah.
you have a Twitter
So
handle?
best place if they just want to give the tool a try is www.onetake.ai, and then they click on try it for free. And to get in touch with me is just on LinkedIn. You search Sebastian Knight. I accept lots of
Sweet.
requests. Yeah.
All right. Just hang out for maybe for a minute. I'm gonna bring this stream to a close. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and until next time.